Hello, my name is Jorb. I love gear, and this is Akai's AX60. It is a 6-voice analog polysynth from 1986, and I think it's very special. If you're coming here from Resonant Screams, thank you very much. If you aren't, I did a sort of scary movie, horror movie special for Friday the 13th about what it took for me to get this keyboard back to me and working again. If that sounds fun to you, I'm going to link it. That's about as far as my self-promotion can go. So what I'm going to do is walk through a few patches that I think highlight what is really unique about this, what is really special about this. I'm sure if you've done any other research or come across this in any other space, you've seen somebody walk through the features and play a few sounds. What I want to do is highlight its uniqueness. I want to highlight its personality, so to speak, through patches that exist already and a few that I've tweaked. So I was going to call this a patch breakdown, where I start with something that's complex and interesting, and it hooks you from the start, right? You hear it, and you say, wow, that patch is interesting. That's a sound I would love to use. And then I show you what features make that possible, and if you have a keyboard that already does it, maybe you just need to program a sound that works the same way as this, and you don't actually need to buy this. It isn't worth your time, and it might not be worth your money. So my hope is to demonstrate the whole package of this together from the perspective of somebody who might want to buy one, from somebody who came across it on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or Reverb, and they're thinking to themselves, I could use another vintage polysynth. Does this one fit the bill? And I encourage you to take a step back and look at what you already have from the lens of understanding what this does that's unique and understanding what this doesn't do and things like that. So anyway, I digress. I meander, but I think that's when I'm my most genuine. So, well, you know what we're talking about, so let's get started. Okay. What better place to start than patch 1.1? And this is factory. The only thing that's different right now is I've turned the wheel on. So let's just listen to it as it is. Okay, let's think about what we're hearing. I do love this patch, by the way. The first thing I noticed, the release is super, super long. So I'm going to go into the VCF, hit this, and now these faders are all pointed towards the VCF envelope generator. I'm going to move the release a little lower. Same thing for the VCA. Let's listen. Much quicker. Could be a little longer than that. So because this is getting in my way, I'm going to turn off the LFO. Just a little longer. Okay. So there's our core sound. And the really interesting thing we were hearing, let's turn back up the LFO. I'm going to do that on the wheel so I can fade it in. And these displays make it really easy to see what we're hearing. We're hearing the LFO on ramping down. The wave is a reverse sawtooth, or however you want to think of it, ramping down on the VCF frequency, the cutoff frequency. And this is I have a sustain pedal, by the way. This is my segue into the first thing that I think is interesting, and we really are kind of going to go left to right, the LFO. One, I think the displays and the controls are quick and easy, but LFO options between ramp up, ramp down, ramp up, triangle, and square, and let's listen to all of them. We're ramping down, that's where we started. We're ramping up. Triangle, which you might think is a normal LFO, standard LFO. Square, and random. Increase the speed. LFO options like that on a synth from 1986 is amazing. And I think random is so fun. And just while we're talking about the LFO, let's move it to the oscillator. Who needs a vintage knob? Just really low depth, actually the wheel as well, which is probably very hard to see in the dark, but low depth, pretty slow speed on a random LFO. And it's lo-fi. Anyway, that's my point. I want to show you that these waveform options on the LFO are super interesting, and just while we're here, we're going to go to triangle, which is a pretty normal one, and I'm going to take off the chorus to a pretty normal sound just to listen. And you'll hear the LFO goes almost too fast pretty quickly, and I'll use that as my lean into the range of essentially all of these faders is stupid. It's either all the really usable values are in the first like 25%, or even, you know, sometimes the good values are all within like 2 or 3 millimeters, which is insane. There is a way around that. There's a mod called the Tontec mod that changes a lot of features of this, but I won't talk about that too much because I don't have it. And stock, you have to, there's a lot of quirks you have to deal with, and that is certainly one of them. The faders are jumpy. You need to move. It's a software quirk where you need to move a certain amount in a certain span of time for it to say, yes, this fader is moving, and then pick up your adjustments. Anyway, I'll talk about that later, but the controls are very, very finicky in a way that doesn't lead to you being precise. It just leads to you being frustrated, and it's pretty hard to get what you need. So you'll see me like move things up dramatically before like slowly getting to the actual point I want, because that's the only way I can get this to do what I want. Okay, I digress. Let's listen to all of our LFO options. We are on a triangle wave. We are pointed to the VCO. We've heard that a million times, huh? We're going to point it to the VCF. We've heard that a million times. And then, strangely enough, VCA isn't super common super common to be a destination. And you get tremolo. I'm going to bring depth down and use the mod wheel to bring it into a more precise level, because these faders are terrible. Lovely. I don't know why that's not a common destination. I'm pretty sure the Poly 6 can do it, but it doesn't have all these waveforms. I could get lost in this. Anyway, let's stop playing with that and let's move over to the oscillators. I'm sure it'll come up in another patch, but I'm inspired by it now. I want to talk about it now. So we're just going to go through all the waveforms we have available. And I'm going to open the filter all the way up and make sure all our other settings for the filter are down low, and for the oscillator. Just as a core sawtooth sound, I mean, come on. Can't beat it. Rich. Okay, and then, see, I keep getting lost because I like this synth so much. The octave options don't change the MIDI note coming out of the keyboard, which some do. They change the voltage going to the actual voice chips, which is great. That's the implementation I'm fond of. Let's move down. Let's listen again. Just a sawtooth. Triangle. Triangle waves always remind me of the Game Boy for some reason, more than square waves. I'm gonna shorten my VCA release a little bit. And if I did mention it yet, having separate separate envelopes is another awesome feature to have on something that's this old. Okay. And then last, and probably most interestingly, we have a sawtooth combined with a triangle. and then it's a little hard to hear it on its own, so I'm going to hold down a note and then move between this and the sawtooth. I think I notice it as the perception that there's more high-end harmonic content, higher harmonic content. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think it's introducing low-end. Awesome. Lovely. And then we're going to go back to our square here. Pulse width, which has its own dedicated LFO. Here's another feature. You have a flexible LFO, one dedicated to the VCO, and one for the Arpeggiator, which we'll get to later. But this is manual pulse width when the speed is at 0. And then it sounds to my ears like a triangle wave. As you move it up and down, and just like the range of every fader on this thing, it goes way too fast. Wonderful, sounds huge, but what's really cool about this is you can do those same pulse width things on every waveform. So let's do it on the saw here. Sorry, let's start at 0. Let's do it on the saw here. And that sounds to me like the leading edge is coming in with a square and then going away. Very interesting. Here it is on the triangle. And this is the easiest place to hear it. It's so much low end on that. I got distracted. And then here it is on our combination wave. And we'll make it variable. Wow. Okay. Lovely. Okay. I don't remember where I left off, but I'm going to go to another patch, which does something interesting. Shall we listen? Sweet. So let's think about what we're hearing. The pitch is changing over time and then leveling out. That to me says it's an envelope. And it's a kind of strange setup here in the oscillator. But that's what this is. EG depth is pitch from the filter envelope. And we can hear that it's just on decay right now. So let's slow it way down. Like a siren. Lovely. Let's make it all attack. And then bring sustain all the way up. I quite like that. Cool. Again, not a feature you see all the time and implemented in a way that I don't think is super normal. And let's demonstrate here. So envelope generation depth on 0. Let's just listen to the pitch we're at. Okay, and now let's move this up in the attack, and let's listen to where we start. I've hit a different note to retrigger the envelope. I'm going to bring my release way down. So we start lower and we end up at the same pitch that's of the note we're going to hit. And so let's do it the other way. Decay. It always ends at, or it tends, see up there, it depends on your sustain, but it ends at the note you're playing on the keyboard, which is the right way to implement that, which is such a smart way to implement pitch on an envelope. And I could play it over and over, and I'm sure it sounds horrible by now. My point is, this is so feature rich, and that's another, just a small detail that they really nailed. They really got right. It's like the THX deep note. Is that what you call that? Okay, another patch. Okay. I'm going to hold one note for a while, and we're going to listen to what we hear. We have fast modulation, and we have slow modulation. So this having multiple LFOs is coming into play. So let's take out the slow modulation, and let's take out the fast modulation. Back to what is an otherwise uninteresting synth patch. And they're also, I didn't realize that, I just do that to turn it off sometimes, but I realize now, this VCO mod takes your oscillator as if it were an LFO, modulates the cutoff point with it. And it doesn't sound like that to me, okay? I checked the manual, that's what it says, but it doesn't sound like that, and I don't know if that's a factor of it being locked in phase and the same pitch as the note that's coming through. But if you just listen to this, it sounds like it's taking away even harmonics, odd harmonics. It's taking the edge off in a way, but if you had a little resonance, you get elements of FM and elements of FM sounds and elements of sampling rate and like a Nyquist frequency, and it's very weird, even just in overdrive sometimes. But I bring it up to show you a weird feature again. And so let's reset this. We're going to go back to 3-1. Slow modulation, fast modulation, and confusing modulation. Here's another one that's kind of similar. And I'm highlighting a few things. The stepping of the resonance, which is, I believe, just picking out the harmonics. And we're going to check this, our fun knob. Sounds like it was in play. Yep, it definitely was. Is it accentuating the harmonics? It must be. It's something like that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But my point in bringing this patch up is to talk about the resonance. It's almost too much at like 50%. It's almost self-resonating. It is, right above 50%. And that's so, there's no reason for that, you know? Use a different taper. That's part of the character of this synth. Is that insane over-the-top resonance. I'm recording this part later, and I'm going to throw it in wherever it fits. Price. Price is such a huge component of my considerations when I get a piece of gear, and it should be part of yours. And I don't feel like people talk about that openly or often enough. But anyway, when I got this, it was $400, and I knew it was in bad shape. I tried to fix it. I could handle the keyboard and a few other things, but as soon as the power supply started having problems and that led to tuning inconsistencies. I knew I couldn't handle it. I took it to a shop. They couldn't handle it. They took it to another shop, and they did an excellent job. So all in all, $600 for a repair, $400 for the keyboard originally. And so I'm about, and shipping one way, so I'm about $1,100-ish in on a keyboard that I thought I was just getting for a song, $400. So this is as good a shape of a vintage keyboard I've had in a very, very long time. And I'm thrilled about that, but I don't know that I would have bought this for $1,000 had it come up for $1,000. Anyway, I digress. Price is important. Back to the tech. So I'm just going to quickly go through everything in Bank 1, okay? And let's just listen. These are the factory presets, and I have no idea why they would put things like this right next to things like this when there's great examples of really slick, cool, clean synthesis, and also insane like horror movie noises. When I finally had all these patches working, and one of the first things I said was this could be the only tool somebody uses to soundtrack a horror movie. Watch Resonant Screams. That's where the idea came from. There you go. That's the patch. I haven't talked about the Arpeggiator yet, but I played it in the beginning. Let's put it on hold. The modes, up goes up, down goes down. Up and down goes up and down, but it behaves a little strangely. It repeats the first, let's turn this off, repeats the first and last. And it shouldn't. It should just go. But listen. Annoying. It doesn't make any sense to me. There is another mode. When you highlight up and down, it plays your whole chord. And one more, when there's no lights lit, it plays it back in the order you play them. Which is really slick. Again, sick features for an old board. Okay, let's talk about splits. You activate it here, and we're going to go to 2 in the lower, 4 in the upper, and we're going to set our point right here. You do that by hitting split while it's highlighted. Press this, and we go between lower and upper here. So our lower is going to be 1-1, which you've heard so many times. We're going to put the wheel just on lower, because it lasts so long like that. And our upper, I've got it on 2-6. So here's our low patch, and you swap between them, and then you'll see the panel changes to reflect the settings you've got for each of those. And I can modify them on the fly, go back to 2-6. And adjust your balance here between lower and upper. So we're going to get a little bit of bias to the upper. A lame but fun demonstration. This can run 2 patches at a time. That's insane. Okay, I feel like I need to conclude. First, This is in no small part a video to say I have one of these and I think it's very interesting. And if you have one and you're trying to get it to do something in particular that you're struggling a little bit with, I'd be happy to help you. If you're thinking about getting one and you have questions about something specific, please ask me. I think that's where I can offer the most value, is explaining these things or walking through these things with people who are on their way to figuring them out. So if you're curious about any part of it, fire away. To summarize the keyboard, I think the modulation options are insane between what you can do to the filter and the flexibility of this LFO. The pulse width on the oscillator is very flexible and interesting in and of its own right, and I do think it just sounds good. To summarize, to give this like an elevator pitch, it's very feature rich, but it falls short for a couple reasons. Not only because of the fader ranges and the precision it takes to get where you want to get, but that's a big deal. Things being easy to control is a huge factor in what it feels like to sit down and play this instrument. So it's a strange thing to be so wrong on this, but it doesn't ruin it for me because I'm comfortable with tweaking, and if you are, maybe don't even worry about it. But this is super feature rich. I think it sounds excellent, and it can do things that a lot of other old polysynths can't. But you know what? Let's call it there. My name's Jorb. I love gear. This has been Akai's AX60. Ask me any questions you got. If you like this, like it. If you like me, subscribe. If you don't like me, that's okay. Still like the video. Thank you again. I hope this was helpful to anybody. Have a good night. Signing off.